We have a much clearer picture tonight of how a leading Chinese dissident wound up in the U.S. Embassy in Beijing, setting off a diplomatic crisis. And it is straight out of Hollywood, with the blind dissident escaping house arrest, American diplomats rescuing him, and then racing him to the embassy with Chinese secret police in pursuit. The story is coming out at the same moment the U.S. Secretaries of State and the Treasury are in Beijing to negotiate trade and policy agreements. Yesterday, the U.S. returned Chen Guangcheng to the Chinese after they promised he would be safe, and he said he wanted to stay in China. But today, Chen asked Secretary Clinton to take him out on her plane. And later, in a phone call, Chen was patched through to a congressional hearing in Washington. Chen told the committee he wants to come to the U.S. to rest. They'll make a movie out of this one day, but in the meantime, we have reports from Beijing and Washington. First, David Martin.
The almost not-to-be-believed saga of Chen Guangcheng is, in the understated words of one U.S. diplomat, one of the most challenging human rights cases we've had in some time. Having escaped from house arrest, Chen was hiding out with fellow dissidents in Beijing when the U.S. Embassy, headed by Ambassador Gary Locke, mounted an operation to bring him in from the cold.
When we got the word that he was in Beijing wanting to talk to us in the wee hours of the morning, we went out and contacted him, and then we engineered almost a maneuver out of Mission Impossible to bring him in to the embassy.
The maneuver involved transferring Chen from a van driven by the dissidents to a U.S. government car while evading Chinese surveillance, then speared him back to the U.S. Embassy past Chinese guards, whose job is to prevent would-be defectors from reaching the embassy. That's when 6 days of negotiations began. Ambassador Locke flew back from vacation in Bali to negotiate with the Chinese on Chen's behalf.
He did not want to go to the United States, and so the choice was to help him get back into China to be a freedom fighter as he wanted, or if the conditions, the negotiations with the Chinese government were not to his satisfaction, he was prepared to stay in the embassy and live there for possible years.
The Chinese brought Chen's wife to Beijing and promised he would be reunited with his family and given a scholarship to attend law school if he came out of the embassy. When Chen balked, the Chinese said his wife would be sent back to the village where the two of them had languished under house arrest.
He talked with his wife twice and then made that decision on his own to come out of the embassy and to rejoin the family.
It was Chen's decision, but with his wife's well-being in the balance, it would seem he had little choice. Still, Ambassador Locke insists no one forced Chen to leave.
I remember asking him in front of many, many witnesses, "Are you ready to leave? Is this what you want to do?" And he just paused and sat there, very quiet for several minutes, and then just jumped up, beaming, excited, and says, "Let's go."
Chen was reunited with his family, but also back under Chinese control, and apparently decided he'd be better off coming to the United States.
But for now, the Chinese have Chen, and U.S. officials have not been allowed to see him since he had that change of heart.
David, thank you.